the crop rockin', nickelback poppin', girls for all the girls, the Terminator, Sam Beal, as seen on Impact Wrestling, and you are listening to The Final Count. Hey everybody, Anthony Corelli here, formerly known as Santino Morella, and you are listening to The Final Count.
Hey, it's Eric Ortiz, voice of the Valley from OVW, and you're checking out The Final Count. Citizens, this is Super Z, and you're watching The Final Count.
What's up? That is right. It is that time again. It is time for the Final Count Spotlight. And ladies and gentlemen, fans, I just want to introduce to you at this time my guest. He is none other than current OVW superstar, and he's an indie wrestling star. He is none other than the Flowin Samoan, Anthony Toatele. How are you doing, Anthony?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to have you on the podcast on here on the Final Count. And you know, as I said, you're a current OVW superstar. One half your running buddy is the current OVW heavyweight champion.
That's right, Dustin Jackson. Big DJ.
Yes.
Shout out Big DJ.
Yes, shout out to Big DJ. Big DJ. And y'all have a huge matchup coming up. Let's go ahead and talk about that, actually, before we jump into the meat of everything and getting to know you, for those who do not know who you are. But I'm sure most of the fans listening obviously already do know who you are. But for those that don't, we'll get into that. But coming up at the OVW, and we'll get into this also a little bit later, we'll promote it, show the flyer. Coming up at Tough Love, there's going to be a handicap match. Yourself, Dustin Jackson, the OVW heavyweight champion, and Cal Hero.
Yeah, the snowblower himself, man. The snowblower himself.
Yeah. Teaming against, in a handicap match against Steven Steele, who apparently is 169. I don't know about that, but what do you think of teaming with the snowblower?
Yeah, so if you watched Thursday's episode of OVW Rise, that was not what I was expecting from Big DJ. I wouldn't say I was shocked, honestly, when he announced that Cal was going to be our partner at Tough Love. If that's what DJ feels like he needs to do. I know he's got this issue with Cal. They did back in the day, the fanny pack party, the FPP. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm just there to do my thing, make my money, and get out. So if that means I got to put a beat down on Steven Steele, all 169 pounds, and then some, well, then that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, I was just as shocked as everybody else.
Absolutely. You could see that, and I'm like, whoa. Talk about a way to end OVW Rise. And OVW Rise, if you have not checked out OVW Rise, do yourself a favor. If you don't check it out live, go back and watch the replay. The OVW is doing some big things. We're going to get more into OVW later on in the episode here, but OVW is doing some big things. The PLEs, I don't know if they're not called PLEs, but like the premium.
They're called OPEs. OVW premium events.
Yes. They are free right now. You can't beat free. FREE.
$3.99.
Free 99. There you go. Yes. You can't beat that. And so fans, I definitely encourage you to check out OVW, check out the OVEs. And then if you're near any of the OVW shows, get out to the shows. Get out, travel to the shows. I mean, OVW is going to be in Lexington. They just put out a bunch of shows coming up, and so get out and check out OVW. Independent wrestling in general, wherever you're at. We're going to talk about that again towards the end of the show, but I want to bring that up now as well. Support indie wrestling wherever you're at. But Anthony, I want to talk about you. So let's get started. When did you first decide to get into the pro wrestling business? What was that moment for you?
Yeah, man. So my story is kind of like the story of every other. I feel like every other football player slash athlete, right? So I was in the midst of playing semi-pro football. I had just come out of camp with an indoor football team in Chicago, and it was probably 2013. So springtime 2013. I'm going to practices for semi-pro outdoor football, so 11 on 11. Trying to get noticed doing that, hopefully make it like to the CFL or something. And it was, I was probably 23, 24. And I, 100% honesty, it took me quite a while to get to the level of, as far as athleticism goes, to play at even that level. So, my window of making it professionally is really small. So I had a friend at the time, me and my best friend at the time, we would go to practice, we would work out, and then if we weren't working, we would just in between practices and workouts, we would hang out at his apartment and watch wrestling. We both were big wrestling fans as kids. And so we would just throw on wrestling when we're, just hanging out at his apartment in between workouts and practices. And eventually, he goes, man, we like this football thing. Like, if it doesn't work out, what do you want to do? And he was like, what if we did wrestling? We could do that, right? And so I was like, yeah, we could do that. And I'd looked into it before when I first come out of high school, and things just didn't match up. And so we googled wrestling schools in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we found one called Body Slam University at the time, run by Jason Maples, and the head trainer was Congo Kong's, big name now in the independent wrestling scene. And, we got in contact with Jason. He invited us in, and we were expecting this big, elaborate sort of PC-esque, WWE PC-esque environment. And then we showed up and it was a storage unit with a ring in it in the middle of the summer at that time. And I was like, oh man, what did we get ourselves into, right? And but then I saw the guys going through training, and I talked to Kong and I talked to Jason, and I was like, yeah, I got to try this thing out. And so we had a tryout, and it was just off to the races at that point.
Absolutely. And so, going from football to pro wrestling, a lot of the athletes, as you pointed out, have done that. Have gone from different sports into pro wrestling. And so, training with Congo Kong, that's a huge thing. We'll get into that in a minute. But who were some of your, you mentioned watching wrestling as a kid and everything and growing up. What was that like? Who were some of your inspirations, people you enjoyed watching growing up? And then as you got into wrestling, who are some people that you kind of took what you've seen them do and make it your own?
Yeah. So like some of my earliest memories with I have a younger brother who's 2 years younger than me. Some of my earliest memories with my grandparents is watching wrestling at their house, right? And we would break into my grandma's makeup stand, and she had this like mirror set up, and we would paint our face with her eyeshadow, and we would be Sting and Ultimate Warrior, right? So that those guys, obviously. And then, of course, Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan was the man back in the early 90s, right? Then as I got older, and I became like a preteen teenager, of course I'm Samoan. So The Rock was a huge deal to me. I can remember where I was at when he came back, for the Alliance, whole Alliance storyline and WWE at the time, WCW and ECW versus WWE, and he joined them. I can remember where I was at when that happened. And then I started gravitating towards guys like Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, again, like real athletes, right? Like, and that's why I got into amateur wrestling, and I played football, and because I thought if I did those things, if at any point, like if that didn't work out, I would become a professional wrestler, because that's just what you do as an athlete. And then you get into the wrestling game, and you start looking at like guys that are good. Not that those guys aren't good. The Rock is amazing, right? And anyone can argue. I'll argue all day long about how good The Rock is. But then, guys like Shawn Michaels, AJ Styles, CM Punk. I remember when CM Punk was coming up. Like those are guys that I kind of took some things from. And then obviously, like I make a joke like, yeah, I do the Superman punch, I do the spear. I've been doing those since 2013. I've been doing those moves. So I go Super Samoan. We don't go Super Saiyan. We go Super Samoan. So when I get in that mode, I hit the Superman punch, I hit the spear, I hit the super kick. So yeah, like I just take things from all those guys because honestly, like, and that's where I want to be at, right? Like that's the level you want to be at, so that's what I'm always aiming at. And obviously, there's tried and true methods that seem to work, and seems to be working out for me at OVW. So
Yes, of course. Yeah, those are awesome, great inspirations. I love that you mentioned The Rock and the Samoan heritage that you have as well. And so that's really cool. And then obviously the sports guys like Kurt Angle and Brock coming from the amateur wrestling background. And then you have that amateur wrestling background yourself as well as the football. And then The Rock was in football as well too. And then Sting and the Ultimate Warrior and going back as a kid and painting your face with the makeup and everything, and that's really.
I look absolutely ridiculous, but it's all right.
Very, very, very cool. Now talking about Congo Kong and training with Kong, the monster Congo Kong, former Impact Wrestling or TNA wrestling superstar. What was that like training with Congo Kong?
Man, I can't tell you how nervous I was the first time I got in the ring with him in those first couple weeks, right? Because he's a big guy, and I think he was even bigger back then when I started. But it was great. I can't say enough kind words about Kong. I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I didn't have the foundation that Congo Kong built, right? Like, and that's what he's really good at, is creating this foundation for young up and coming guys and wrestlers, and teaching them the way that things should be done, and the way that we should behave, and the way that we should do things in the ring, in and out of the ring, right? So yeah, like it's a blessing. It's a blessing to have someone of that immense talent. And at that time, it was right before, it was a year or two right before he kind of blew up on the scene as Congo Kong. So I got him, that was like the perfect moment where he was kind of coming into his own, and it was awesome to kind of see that happen and go along with him on that journey. As then he got signed to TNA, and he was doing things with TNA, and of course he was paired up with Chelsea Green at the time, and so those things, like, it was cool to be a part of that success. And then he would come back, every couple of weeks, and we would get together and train, and he would tell us about, hey, this is what they're doing, this is what they're looking for. And so that's always helped me and kind of pushed me to be, the wrestler that I am.
Definitely. It's very cool I'm sure to be able to have that experience, and get, told this is what they're looking for or things like that. And like you said, being proud of your trainer as well, and seeing the success he has, and then vice versa, him seeing the success that you're having as well. I'm sure that's very cool to see for both of you. And shout out to Congo Kong. He's an alumni of the show here. And so shout out to him. I know he's doing big things still to this day. I just was watching, actually last night as we're recording this on Thursday night after watching Rise, I just watched him on JCW, Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
That's
and so
right.
He's doing big things there as well. What would you say are some obstacles you have had to overcome in wrestling as far as your training and developing your character?
Yeah, so obviously, like, for me, my situation was a little different. I was a little bit older when I came into the game. I was kind of already a professional. Like, I felt like I'd already kind of been through a professional athlete like pacing in my life, right? So because I had been in camps as football teams, and I had been signed and then released, and so I kind of went through all that. But on top of that, like, I was a young dad. So I had my first daughter when I was 20. So I mean, that's not a kid, but it is still kind of a kid. And when you're trying to be, and this is just me, right? This is just me being real and just me being me. But like, I love wrestling. But I was never going to sacrifice my time with my child to go take shows or go travel and grind away on the road and do all those road trips. So like, for me, it's kind of been a longer process because I'm trying to be there at the same time and be a good parent to and be a good family man and do all those things. So, but that's me. So when I say things on TV about like my character, right, or who I am, what's my motivation? My motivation is my family. My motivation is putting food on the table and providing for my family because that's my responsibility. Not only as a father, but in the Samoan culture, obviously Roman Reigns is the tribal chief, but every family has, and like this is for real, every family has their own chiefs, and they're called matais. And so for me, that's a title that's bestowed upon you by the elder generations in our family. And I had a conversation with my grandmother about 2 years ago, and she said, "I would like you to go become the matai for our family, the chief, become a chief for our family." And so with wrestling, that's another motivating part for me, is like I'm putting my family's name, and my family's name is out there, and I want to make them proud. I want people to remember, like, hey, there's more than just one Samoan family out there, right? There's Anawahis out there, but there's also the Toatele. There's Toatele. Where does he come from? What's his family like? And I want to make them proud. So that's that my character is just me, and it's about as real as it gets.
I love that. I love that you mentioned putting your family first, which is, I just recently watched an interview that Stephanie McMahon obviously did with AJ Styles, who just had his last match in WWE and retired. So I know on there watching that, they talked about AJ Styles put his family first and everything before he turned down WWE so many times and put his family first. And then that all, in the end, kind of paid off for him and was worth the while. And I feel like that's what you're doing. And I feel like that same thing will happen for you, that it's going to pay off. I mean, it already is paying off. But it's going to pay off even more, I feel like.
Yeah, so man, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely. It's a big thing, putting your family first and being that family man, stepping up as a dad and being a father. That's the most important, I feel like. And so props to you, for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Do you remember your first match? And if so, what was that like?
Dude, I can remember my match. I could tell you where it was at. So I think it was November 2013. It was my very first official match, and it was kind of like a graduation, right? So we were there is this wrestling promotion that I still wrestle for to this day. I'm actually the heavyweight champ right now, called New Era Wrestling out of Shelbyville, Indiana, and so it's near Indianapolis. And the guys that I trained with, there was 4 of us, and I think most of them are no longer in the business, but the 5 of us, we were in a tag team match, and it was the 5 of us, the new students, versus a wrestler by the name of Hillbilly Jed, who is another underrated independent wrestler, and he's been around for a minute. And his best friend is obviously Congo Kong. So at the time, it was the 5 of us versus the 2 of them, and then another veteran at the time. His name was Mouse, and it was a beatdown on all 5 of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just veterans putting it to the young boys and showing us what it meant to be out there in front of a live crowd. I took a last ride from Kong and a giant choke slam, and but I can remember it like it was yesterday. And then of course, like just the feeling after we walked through the curtain, even though we lost, but apart from that, I can just remember that feeling from the curtain and be like, all right, I made the right decision. Like, this is the thing that I want to do. Like, this is what I'm chasing.
Absolutely. Those first match stories are always really something interesting to see, because, it's like, some people might get thrown into a battle royal. Some people might, have that, that match against their trainer, that one-on-one match against their trainer, whatever it might be. So I love hearing those first match stories. And being in a tag match, 5 guys against 3, that's really really cool experience right there. And lose or not, like you said, that's when you decide, this is what I'm here for. I'm down for it. I'm here for it. So I love that. While we're talking about matches, if you could pick 3 matches, that was a tough one. If you could pick 3 matches that you would say would be your favorites that you've had up to this point in your career.
Oh man. Well, if we're talking about, let's start with the my OVW career, which has been a little over a year, right? So, um, I had honestly one of my best matches was with Dustin Jackson. Him and I had a one-on-one matchup when he was the media champion, and I took him to the limit. We were on an episode of Rise, and I just think that was kind of like my coming out party a little bit. He won, but I think people from then on kind of understood like who I was and what I was about. And then I had, let's see, the I had a great match at Heroes and Legends Wrestling, where I am still the heavyweight champion. We're talking like 2,200 days plus. But I had a one-on-one match with the Pope, otherwise known as Elijah Burke. And so the story behind that match was I had seen Elijah Burke when he was a part of ECW. They came to Fort Wayne, where I live, when I was like 18 years old, and he was part of the ECW, like that whole brand. And they had a tag match, and it was him, Kevin Thorne, and the other two guys. They were the ECW New Breed and versus the ECW Originals plus CM Punk, right? And they had this awesome tag match where they recorded a TV episode of ECW and SmackDown. Me and my friends go out afterwards. We go out to IHOP to eat after the show, and lo and behold, there's them guys. It's Kevin Thorne and Elijah Burke eating at the IHOP. And obviously I was nervous, and I said hi to them at the table. And then, fast forward almost 10 years later, I'm in the same building that I watched him wrestle in. Now I'm wrestling in that building in front of my family and friends, in front of hundreds and almost thousands of, 1,000 people in the Fort Wayne Allen County Memorial Coliseum. And now I'm the main event with Elijah Burke. And of course, we had a great match. He's ultra talented. And then lastly, my big first name that I can remember that I was a little nervous about was Billy Gunn. Like I wrestled Billy Gunn at another Heroes and Legends show prior to me and Elijah Burke locking up. And it was a little bit of an introduction to like, hey kid, welcome to the business a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Those are very all three great matches right there. I got to be there for that Dustin Jackson in your match last year, and so or was that 2024? I believe it was.
Yeah.
Right. And so I remember seeing you in that match, which I had known of you prior to OVW. I had always wished that I could get to see you in person, and so when you came to OVW, I was like, well, I'm happy, super stoked that he's in OVW now. And so I was because I remember I think I had seen you actually before in Indianapolis at one time, and actually I know you also wrestle for Wrestling Theology Fellowship as well. So I've been to a couple of their shows before as well. Like I think I was at their first show, and I don't know if you were there or not. You may have been at that one too. But I've watched your career over the years, and when you came to OVW, I was like, I'm so excited that Anthony's finally here in OVW. And so that Dustin Jackson match and your match together was really great. You really did show OVW that this is why the audience and everything, that this is why you're here, that you can go and prove why you're the heavyweight champion in multiple promotions. And talk about working with Elijah Burke, the Pope, another OVW alumni right here as well.
That's right.
And so, really cool working with him. And just all three matches right there. I love the story behind the Elijah Burke match as well. So that was very cool. And then Billy Gunn will talk about that match as well here in a few minutes. But first of all, I want to ask you, how did you come up with the moniker, the Flowin Samoan?
So I be 100% honest, I didn't come up with that. So I can remember the day that someone nicknamed me that. So obviously I have long hair. I've kind of always had long hair. I started growing it when I was playing football. And I can remember it was a day in practice with a semi-pro team. We were outside. It was hot. And I played quarterback. And I had taken off on a play, and I was running, and I made someone miss, and I ran out of bounds. And one of the safeties, his name's Todd. We got a water break after that. Took a timeout, and he came up, and he was like, "Man," he was like, "You are the Flowin Samoan." He was like, "You just move." He was like, "You are athletic. You just move." He's like, "You look good." He's like, you're the Flowin Samoan. And I was like, hey, I like that. So then, obviously fast forward a couple years later, they're like, hey, you need something for wrestling. Who are you? Who is Anthony Toatele? And I was like, oh, well, I'm the Flowin Samoan, man. Like that's just who I am. And so it's stuck. It's stuck for 13 years now. And I just love it. I always shout out to Todd Blanton, strong safety. He was the one that gave me that name.
It absolutely sticks, and it's really cool it's really catchy. I love how catchy it is, and hearing it announced the Flowin Samoan Anthony Toatele, I love it. That's cool. That came from playing football, and from one of your teammates. That's really cool. Absolutely. Now, how did your signature move, Good Night Honolulu? How'd you come up with that?
So I was kind of dabbling around and trying to find a finisher, and I can remember I saw Jericho kind of do the code breaker gimmick. He does the code breaker, he jumps in from the front, and I was like, man, that looks cool, but I want to do something. I want to put a little spin on it, and honestly, I was just messing around at practice, and I was like, let me try this thing. It's like a code breaker, but let me jump in from the side. And I tried it, and it looked, people were like, oh man, that looks phenomenal. Like that looks great coming in like from the side, just big explosion on the dude when he takes it. And then the name, I used to be called the facial reconstruction. So when my wife, when she was my manager, and we used to be, she was my valet and my manager back in the day. We had a shirt that made it look like we were a plastic surgeon. We're a plastic surgeon sort of practice, and that was why I called it the facial reconstruction. But now I call it the Goodnight Honolulu, just kind of like a sign off. I love the state of Hawaii. And I just love when I think about going to sleep, right? I'm putting people to sleep with a good night. So you're going to sleep, and what other better place to go to sleep and think about than Honolulu, Hawaii?
Absolutely. I love the name, and then that's devastating code breaker, because I know Jericho does it from the front, and so from the side. I love that. Love that.
I try to show a little bit of athleticism, try to get up and jump up as high as I can. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. For someone who has not seen an Anthony Toatele match, how would you describe your in-ring style?
Yeah, so I think I've evolved like as I've gotten older, but I would say it's athletic, it's smooth, but it's steeped in like actual grappling. So I've put a lot of time and practice in striking and kicking, and also now like as I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now for almost 4 years. So getting into the submission game and really learning how to manipulate joints and stuff like that. So, it's very much what you see on TV at the big leagues and the WWE, and what you've always seen for some of your favorites, like I've talked about, but it's also like you've seen some of that stuff and you go, ooh, like I saw that on the UFC fight, or that looks like something I would see someone do in MMA. And like, that's my style. Like, steeped in reality, steeped in real fighting, because I can't tell you, like I spend almost my entire week training with legitimate killers, like guys that are probably some of the toughest SOBs on this side of the planet, and then some. And that's why I think I kind of bring that to my wrestling style, because as much as I respect other people in this business and all these guys that are in the OVW locker room and all the locker rooms that I share, like I am hard pressed, I would say, to find someone that's going through the things that I'm going through on a weekly and daily basis. And I choose to do those hard things. So when I get to these moments, like I had this big match at OVW, or I've got a big title defense, like those are drops in a hat. Those are drops in a bucket. You know what I'm saying? Compared to the things that I choose to do regularly.
Absolutely. Definitely. So let's talk about, I know you worked with another alumni of this show, and I believe he's a friend of yours as well, to this day. So can you talk about working with Karn Alexander?
Oh man, me and Karn. So, we go way back, Karn and I. So, actually, it's funny. My wife, my wife was Karin's little sister.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yes. So
Kinsey
brother-in-law.
Alexander. Yeah. So we are related, brother. And trust me, he tells everybody that's my brother-in-law. That was the first thing he told everybody when I got to OVW finally. Um, but yeah, we had some great matches, and I can't, honestly looking back, like I can't think of, and I can't thank Karn enough because at the time, I was still a young boy, I was still green, and we had a great story at the time. He was kind of leaving the business to go do things in acting and other things in his life, and you know, thankfully we had this kind of like overlapping career at the time where he was leaving and I was just getting it. And it just felt like he was really one of the first people to say, like, hey, man, here's the ball, run with it. So, again, like I'm always grateful to Karn Alexander.
Definitely, definitely. Shout out to Karn. Like I said, he's another alumni of the show, and always been really good to us here, and really been a good friend to me as well. And so, your brother-in-law, be sure to tell him I said hi as well.
Yeah.
Um, can you talk about working with Shannon Moore at Heroes and Legends?
Yeah. So, not that I didn't want to leave him off the list, right? Because he's a big name, but Julie gave me three, so I had to pick three. But Shannon Moore was going to be the next guy on that list because he was the very first like big name that I got to wrestle ever. And I wrestled for Hero. Again, it was my first Heroes and Legends like singles kind of like big match. And when they told me it was going to be Shannon Moore, of course, like I'm a ruthless aggression era kid. You know what I'm saying? That's what I come up on. So of course I remember Shannon Moore. I remember from him from WCW, but I for sure remember him as the Mattitude follower. You know what I'm saying? Follow around Matt Hardy and doing things on the show Velocity. And so it was awesome. It was awesome to get to wrestle him. And again, what a great person to mix it up with, especially in my first big time match here in Fort Wayne.
Absolutely, and this is very, very cool. I'm sure to work with him, like you said, watching him on Velocity, and great to learn from him. I'm sure as well. Um, can you talk about? It seems like you also had a feud, and you had a last man standing match with this person at FWF, Scotty Young.
Oh man, Scotty Young, one of my favorite opponents. Hey, I know he's no longer, he's no longer wrestling. He's doing his thing, being a family man, which I 100% respect. He was, we're about the same age, but he started wrestling much younger than I did. But man, Scotty Young deserves all the flowers in the world. He was out there doing big things, and working his tail off, when I first came into the scene. And yeah, it's like again, another guy that I can't imagine if I didn't have Scotty Young, which he was a great bad guy for me as like a baby face and as the good guy like to go up against because everyone hated him so much. And then we had that last man standing match. He curb stomped my wife. He handcuffed me to the ring ropes. He hit me with a chair. And then we had this last man standing match, and everyone, he just kept getting the better of me. And finally, like I put him through this door, and the door just explodes in the corner. And what a great match. And again, talking about Wrestling Theology Fellowship, one of my favorite opponents at Wrestling Theology, because again, he always got the best of me, and he had a manager by the name of Ryan who was just the perfect manager for him, just sleazy and wore loafers, no tie dress loafers that were like blue velvet with no socks, just gross. But yeah, man, like Scotty Young deserves all the flowers in the world because he's a little bit ahead of his time, and I think he was ultra talented, and he just needed that one opening. I think that he never really got, but he definitely deserved it.
Definitely, very much. Very shout out to him as well. Definitely doing the family thing as well. Like you said, that's a big thing for him. And yeah, I remember seeing him at Wrestling Theology Fellowship. I agree with you. He was definitely ahead of his time for sure. Um, can you talk about working? Again, you already mentioned him as well, but I told you we'd come back to him. Billy Gunn.
Yeah, man, Billy's a big boy. Like again, ruthless aggression, attitude era kid. So, you tell me I'm wrestling Billy Gunn, the ass man, I'm in. Like I'm in it. And you think I'm not like a small guy, but you think you know how big people are, and then you see somebody like Billy Gunn in person, and I'm like looking up, being like, oh my gosh, this guy is a giant. Like I'm a small, like, and I was smaller then than I am now, and so, but no, it was awesome to learn from Billy. I used to joke with him coming up. It's been a minute. Like I saw him at OVW and stuff, but like there was a time where we were kind of like on the same shows. We would see each other a couple of times a year, and I would message him and I would joke with him, be like, "Hey man, like I'm just gonna be your adopted kid, and I'm just gonna call you dad." And there's a picture floating out there with me, like him giving me a hug, and you can definitely tell he does not want to hug me, but we forced him to hug me in this picture in the locker room. But I definitely learned a lot from him. He's that's one of the reasons why he was one of the original NXT coaches, and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to wrestling, right? Like I took one of my very first seminars with him, and he knows what the big leagues are looking for. Obviously, look at his sons. He's everyone that he trains. Those guys are all, they have something.
Oh yes, he's great mind in the wrestling business. Great person to learn from and get to work with as well, and still killing it to this day. I mean, all these years later. Can you talk about what it means to you when a promotion puts their main championship, their heavyweight championship, on you, such as Wrestling Theology Fellowship Championship and the Heroes and Legends Championship?
Yeah, so I look at it as a responsibility, right? Like that means that they're trusting me to not only help them be successful financially, but also kind of be successful from a behind the scenes standpoint. Like you can be one of the boys in the back and pal around with the guys in the locker room, the guys and girls in the locker room, but at some point, like if you're going to be the champion, that's a different responsibility. Like you got to make sure that you're the first one in, last one out. You got to make sure that you're doing all the things that you're telling people that they should be doing. And then, you got to have the best match. Like that's my thing as the champion. Like I want to make sure that I have the best match. And if I'm not having the best match out there, like kudos, first of all, to the people that had a better match than me on the card, but also like that's a self-evaluation time for me to be like, all right, I need to go back to the drawing board. What can I do better? So yeah, like it is a big responsibility to put on people's shoulders when you are the main guy. But I feel like I thrive in those situations. That's where I feel the most alive. That's where I feel the most comfortable. Like put it on me. Let's go to work. Let's ride it out. Let's see what we can do.
Absolutely. And they say the championship, it's just a prop, but it's still, I have to say it's a big deal right there, for sure. So what have been some of your favorite people? Who have been some of your favorite people to work with? Prior to OVW.
Prior to OVW, even outside of OVW. So, obviously, shout out first of all to my younger brother. I won't say big brother or little brother, but younger brother Eric Surge, because he is one of my favorite people to wrestle because we just know each other so well. Again, he trained with Congo Kong, obviously much later than me, but his story. If you've ever talked to him, we were destined to kind of do this forever, I think, because he started wrestling and he got with Congo Kong because of a conversation that we had randomly one day at a gym. We met we went to the same gym. So, and then another guy that I consider like, I don't have a lot of close friends necessarily in the wrestling business, but Ash and Adonis, right? Another guy that I travel with, I would consider a younger brother. Man, that kid can go. He's really good. He's a perfectionist. But damn, like I love having matches with him because he definitely will push me to be the best version of me, whatever that means on that day, right? And then a guy that most, some OVW fans may not know, but I've had great matches with, and I'm talking like just steeped in drama. Two guys, honestly. Jacob Braun out of Detroit, Michigan. And then Alexander S. Kirk, who is a guy that came in with me in my training class underneath Congo Kong. We've been tag team champions together. We've been rivals. And we have always had great chemistry, and I think it's because we are, for in real life, you know what I'm saying, we're friends, but at the time when we were coming up in the business and we were both young boys, you know, we were rivals. Like we wanted to outdo each other, so we were pushing each other, and we were friendly about it, and we were boys, but also like I want to do better than him. Well, he wants to do better than me, so we've always had great chemistry. And you know, recently, I think probably about 2 years ago, we had a banger of a 2 out of 3 falls match for a place that I love called Super Shogun Wrestling out of West Branch, Michigan. Um, and is kind of a resurgence for him as far as his career goes. So, yeah, those are my guys. Those are my boys that I will work any day of the week.
Definitely. I love that you mentioned Eric Surgeon and Ashton Adonis as well. You know, two great guys right there. And then the other two I had never heard of. I did, when doing some more research about you, I did hear about Kirk there. That I seen that you all tagged, that you all been tag team
Oh
champions
man,
as well. And
yeah. If anyone has time, like, and you want to see some pretty hilarious video slash skits on my YouTube back in the day with him, um, yes, go look it up on my YouTube channel. But I guess one more person I would add to that, because like, you know, I'm a sports guy, so one of my starting five, right? Those are my four. Give me my big five. Guy holding it down. Another guy that, you know, I met through OVW, but again, I've always had great chemistry with, and again, one of my boys, Brandon Beretta.
yeah,
So again, dude is as a worker. He's, you know, again, he's like Adonis. He's younger than me, and I'm always just trying to play catch up with those dudes. And anytime I've been in the ring with him or we've talked, like, again, he's just one of those dudes that kind of pushes you to be the best version of yourself. And you know, I love watching what he's doing with Exodus, and he's gonna be a big deal.
absolutely. I believe every one of those that you mentioned, all great. You know, putting in the work. They're all putting in the work, as are you yourself as well. Um, how did your time in LVW come to be?
So it's funny because you know, I wrestling theology. I was at a wrestling theology show, and the photographer at the time was actually JMO, who was an agent producer at OVW. His wife was taking pictures for at WTF or Wrestling Theology, and she said, "I don't normally do this." She's like, "But after watching your match, like, I want to tell my husband, you've got to get to OVW." And like, I knew JMO from time many years ago. We crossed paths, and she was like, "Please, like, reach out to him, like, or he'll reach out to you." And you know, at the same time, like, he reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, like, come on in, like, we'll give it a shot." And at the same time, Amazing Maria, who I've known since I came into the business from the very start, like all the way back to 2013, right? She's good friends with Kong, and she's been around that area, and she's been a great wrestler in general. She's always been trying to vie for me to get down to OVW, and just things haven't really mixed, you know, they haven't matched up. And finally she hears, you know, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make an effort to come down to OVW. And then, you know, she's right there with JMO getting, you know, trying to get me in. And so finally they get me on, and you know, things just kind of escalated from there. So
Absolutely. Shout out to JMO and Miss JMO as well. Both also both alumni of the show, and got to hear their story. And they're also new parents as well. So
that's
shout out
right.
to them and congratulations to them. I'm really happy to see how far he's come through. And both of them have come through the hardships that they had to face and everything. And so shout out to them. Very cool that they are the ones that got you, kind of got the ball rolling to get you.
Yeah, man.
Love that. How did you find out you would be teaming with Dustin Jackson?
So yeah, you know, just showed up one day, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna tag team this tournament, and Dustin Jackson needs a partner, and you're that guy." And I was like, "Okay." Like, you know, I at that point we've already had a couple matches at that point. You know, we did the ladder match at the premium event for the digital media title, and you know, that's where Jake Lawless won that title, when me and Dustin were fighting over the media title at the top of the ladder, and it fell in his hands. But so yeah, and things just kind of took off. Like we realized like our chemistry, we had, a little bit of a dip there at the beginning, but then after that, it was the Rockets. It was just strap the Rockets to us because, we've obviously done good things as a team.
Absolutely. And I loved that you all became a team and started teaming together. Uh, and then let's talk about this is at No Rest for the Wicked. Uh, the hill run that y'all been on since No Rest for the Wicked. A lot of people um, might say that what happened that night was questionable. That you might have tried to talk um, Dustin into that. But hey, y'all came out with the tag titles, so I can't fault you on that. But let's
Well,
talk about that.
so here's my thing with that, right? Like you can be mad that, I like Peso and I like Maximo. And they're a great team, but they made a mistake, and we took advantage. Dustin took advantage, and then obviously we lost those tag team titles back to them in the same manner. So it's just fair game, and in the heat of competition, there is not really. There's always going to be a gray area. There's not really this. There's black and there's white, but there's always this giant space in between, this gray area where everyone kind of goes when you're competing and you want to be the best. So it is what it is. Things happen, and we just took advantage of it.
So true. It did go both ways. They did the same way when they won the titles back. So yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Who have been some of your favorite people to work with in OVW specifically?
Yeah. So honestly, I can remember my first tag team matchup was me and Eric Surge versus Jesse and Adam Revolver. And that was those guys. Those guys are awesome. And then I love working Donovan Cecil. Donovan Cecil has been around at OVW much longer than me, but obviously him and T Dub had their run as tag team champions. But I think Donovan is definitely a guy that stands out, and he's going to continue to get better. I watch him get better, every time I see him, and yeah. And then obviously it pains me to say this, but me and Cal Hero, man, like, he's obviously young, but there's a reason why he's kind of been at OVW and done his thing for as long as he has, longer than me. So yeah, and we seem to do good business when we're together.
Yeah, I'd say all three of those, or everyone you mentioned, is really y'all really work well together, and definitely agree with you right there. So how do you feel OVW has grown you specifically as a performer?
Yeah, I think it's for me, it was just kind of narrowing down some of the things that I wanted to get out in front of the thousands of people that watch OVW, right? Because when you're in front of an independent show, you're wrestling at an independent show. You're only wrestling for however many people are there, and sometimes they record it, and sometimes it makes it onto the internet. But at OVW, like, you're not just wrestling for the people in the audience at the Hot Point Davis Arena. You're wrestling for the 7,000 to 10,000 people that are watching live, and then all the people that are going to watch later that week, right, and rewatch that. So for me, it was just about kind of help me develop who I really wanted to be, and kind of narrow myself down into that, and hone in on that. Not that I didn't know who I was, but again, it just kind of helps you focus a little bit.
Absolutely, because you never stop learning and always learning every day, and so definitely. And then as we're talking about kind of learning, what is being a vet? Because you are a vet, and being a vet, being in the business as long as you've been in it. So right now, what is something that you like to, some advice you like to pass down to, talent coming in and talent breaking in the business now? And then what's the best piece of advice that you've been given?
Yeah, so it's weird for me because I don't, sometimes I'm like, man, like I don't really feel like a vet, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I think that's because of the piece of advice that I do give to people is like, again, you can love wrestling, which I love wrestling. I love being in front of a crowd. I love doing it. But it isn't who I always say this, and I mean this with like 100% of my heart. At the end of the day, wrestling is just something that I do. It's not who I am. And I always tell young guys, like, don't get lost in that. Like, don't get lost in and don't lose yourself in wrestling. Because at the end of the day, this can be taken away from you really quickly, whether by accident or by choice. And, you still have to live with yourself outside of this world of professional wrestling. So, and again, there's an authenticity to people and who they are and the character they're trying to portray when it isn't just something that they do. It's actually, it is, I should say, their character isn't someone that they're portraying. It is actually them either turned up to 11 or this alter ego, which plays into some of the best advice that I ever got, which was from Congo Kong, right? When you're sitting, I can remember we're sitting in that storage unit in the middle of the summer, probably like August, and it's hot. There's no air conditioner, and it's probably 110 degrees in the storage unit with the bay door open. And we're talking about like who you're going to be. That was my best piece of advice that I ever received from him was like, who you are in front of hundreds, thousands of people is really should be yourself. But again, it's that yourself turned up to 11, or it's an alter ego, someone that part of you that you've always wanted to let out, but you never had the opportunity to. So yeah, that's the best piece of advice that I ever got, because, it really helped put me on the path to developing and being Anthony Toatele.
I love that you said it like that, to not let wrestling, I guess basically not let wrestling define you, like not let it, because that's not technically who you are, but don't let that, because like you said, it can be taken away from you.
100%.
It can be taken away from you anytime.
My thing about, like, again, like I do wrestling. I have my own reasons for wrestling, right? Like, and they've evolved as I've kind of grown, gotten older, and I've gone through the business. But, there's got to be a reason for wrestling. If you're just wrestling to wrestle, you're just, like that's going to wear thin, and you're going to feel some emptiness there, and it's not going to feel as fulfilling. But if you're wrestling to achieve other things or to prove other things, for other people or for yourself, like that's where you get into making wrestling fun, and it becomes this thing that, like, again, it's something that you do, but it's something you choose to do. It's not something that you feel like you're obligated to do.
Absolutely. What would you say is something that you've learned about yourself being in the wrestling business?
I'm a little bit of I probably already knew this, right? But I'm a little bit of a diva. I got my things that I want to go right, not just on wrestling days, but throughout the week. So I'm pretty particular about, if I got a show on a Thursday, I got OVW Rise on Thursday. I've got a pretty strict schedule that I stick to, and I've kind of always been like that. But I'm just very particular about the way that I like things and the way that I do things and prepare. So that it was just like highlighted for me a little bit more once I got into wrestling.
I love that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. We want things to go smoothly. When we have something we want to do, we want it to go smoothly. Some things can go wrong, but ultimately we want things that we are involved in and things that we're doing to go smoothly and go the right way. So I like that. I like that. I like that you put it that way as well. If you had any music artist to give you a theme song, or write your theme song, who would that artist be?
Oh man, so another this, I feel like I'm just putting people over, but like shout out to the Downstate Boys. Like, if anyone watches WWE and watched WWE in the last 15 years, pretty much any big theme song from like the 2010s era, right, is Downstate. So you got The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, Zack Ryder at some point, and then Matt Cardona when he's on the Indies. So I say that because Downstate is from Fort Wayne, where I live, and also because I'm friends with Zach, the lead singer, who is actually an OVW alumni as well. Zach Call. And yeah, man, like they are always doing. They've just got this knack for putting together and working with people and developing a song that really fits that person and that character. I mean, obviously, look at the biggest example is Cody Rhodes, right? Like Cody got that song when he went to the Independents and he left WWE, and then he brought that song back with him however many years later when he came to WWE, and he's still using it.
Yeah.
So that would be my pick, right? Like not just because they're my boys, but because they've just got a gift for creating that music.
I think they would create some real good music for you, especially, you know, like you said, with how Cody Rhodes' song is and how catchy it is. I'm sure you'd get an awesome song from them as well. Who would your dream opponent be, and what type of match would you want it to be, and where would the venue location be?
Oh man, dream match. Oh, like anybody all time, because there's like obviously all time would be like Shawn Michaels. Like you hear all these things about like Shawn Michaels being able to go and he does all these things just the right way. And again, he was kind of the first guy that wasn't a jacked up, like sort of Hogan era sort of guy to make it. Him and Bret Hart, right? And then, you know, if we're talking about today's era, um, you know, you just pick someone like Cody Rhodes. I was when he was on the Indies. When he was on the Indies, man, I was like just hoping and praying. I was like, man, someone put me on that, right? Like someone put me versus Cody because he's out there. He's doing his thing. Like it never happened, but I was so like I want to get that again. Like let me and Cody run it. Like I want to find out like all these things because obviously he has an it factor and WWE believes in him and they kind of, you know, he is their guy. So like I want to experience that. Like I want to feel that from that guy. Yeah. And as far as like what kind of match, man, like it could be any match. It could be like it could just be a singles match for all I care. But I want it to be somewhere close to home. Like Indianapolis is a great new wrestling city right now with the venues that they have and just the experience. So I would love to do something in Indianapolis. That's where I'd want my match to be at.
That would be really cool to see. Hey, either Shawn Michaels or you. Definitely Shawn Michaels, I know, is a huge dream opponent for anybody. Um, and then Cody Rhodes as well, you know, another OVW alumni. And I watched him from the time he was in OVW and up to this day. And it's like, I'm so blessed and so lucky to have gotten to see Cody come through OVW and get to see him in person Wednesday after Wednesday after Wednesday. And then now see all of you all there now and see you there in OVW. And it's so very amazing, so very blessed to be able to have OVW literally in the backyard, my hometown, you know. And so it's really cool. And I hope that Cody match comes to fruition for you for sure.
Man, I hope so too. The other one would be like Dolph Ziggler, right? So like Dolph Ziggler is another guy. And you know, Nick Nemeth is the name now, but you know, I was kind of hoping, you know, I'm fingers still crossed. He's at TNA. He kind of works some independent dates here and there. So you know, let's make that one happen because you know, we were talking earlier about Styles. Like again, that's another guy that I feel I'm very close to as far as like athletic ability, and Styles is someone like that because again. Nick was a real shooter, man. Like he was a record-breaking Kent State amateur wrestler. So, you know, everyone remembers the blonde hair and the super kick and the zigzag and all that. But, you know, he's a dangerous man. So another guy that I'm going to mix it out with.
Absolutely. He had a devastating cutter back in the day as well. He would actually, Ken Doan, a lot of people might remember Kenny Dykstra, and Kenny is part of the Spirit Squad. They had a big rivalry in OVW back in the day, and so, yeah, definitely, that'd be another good match. You and Nick Nemeth right there, Dolph Ziggler. What are some of your goals within the wrestling business within the next 5 years?
Man, 5 years—that's a long time. I'm an old man, brother. Like I may not make it 5 years. No, honestly, my goal is not. I guess I have dreams, right? I have aspirations, but I wouldn't say goals because my goals have shifted. The goalposts have shifted as I've gotten older and my kids have gotten older. Honestly, like I want to wrestle till it doesn't, till I don't feel like it's very fulfilling anymore. And right now it's fulfilling. And I'm able to do it and not take away from my family as much as as much as it probably could. And then I want to obviously I can say I want to get signed. I want to get signed to a major company. That's the aspiration. That's the wish. That's the hope. But if it doesn't happen, I am completely comfortable walking away from professional wrestling when that day comes because my main goal has always been is that I just want to show my kids and their kids and my family that I had a goal and I accomplished that goal, and it was something that I had to put my mind to, and I did it, and I did it my way. It necessarily wasn't the way that all pro wrestlers were doing it, but I did it, and I've got to wrestle some of the guys that I've watched as a kid. I grew up watching. I've been in the same locker room as those guys. I've shared stories and laughs and kicked it with some of those guys and those brothers. And so like for me, like that's enough. Like that is enough for me. If I have to walk away tomorrow, I'm completely cool with that. And I think that's a lot of where my head is at as far as the wrestling goes. But if that means I got to win a couple championships at OVW and help bring that back to glory that it used to be, then let's do that too.
Absolutely. I'd love to see that as well. And I think that will happen too. And I love that you put it as aspirations instead of really goals. I love that you put that as aspirations. And I really like that. Really like that. And I love where your head is at as far as that goes. Um, and yeah, let's talk about these upcoming shows. I know we have some flyers here. That we want to share. So let's talk about these shows and promote these shows here. The first one is coming up Sunday, February 15th. OVW Tough Love. I know we talked about that match. Let's talk a little bit more about that match, that handicap match that you're involved in.
Yeah, man. Like I would just tell everyone that you made a great point. Like the OVW premium events are free on YouTube to watch. So tune in on Sunday. Again, I feel like I'm just hitting my stride. I've been in OVW for a little over a year. I don't really know what to expect from this match. Again, I didn't know Big DJ was going to choose Cal to be our partner. I think that just seems a little crazy to me. So we'll see. And also like Steven Steele, like, man, old boy just finds himself in the wrong place in the wrong time a lot. And unfortunately, he just keeps getting involved with me and DJ. So, but that show is going to be awesome. Again, OVW is really starting to get some momentum, and we've got a great locker room. And again, you're seeing some guys that I think there are some select guys in there right now that are on TNA and doing work for TNA and going on to big things. And you better see them at OVW before you got to go pay, for premium events or whatever it is and tickets to go see them at bigger places, because it's going to happen eventually.
Absolutely. OVW Tough Love Sunday, February 15th. Tickets are available at OV Wrestling. I don't believe they're sold out yet, but if you can't make it in the door, definitely tune in on YouTube. And then let's talk about this next one. I don't have them in any particular order, but let's talk about this one.
Oh, man. So the day before, Super Shogun Wrestling, the day before, love you to death. Again, I was talking about them earlier on in the show. Super Shogun is really one of the first promotions. And we didn't hit on this, but I was relatively close before I came to OVW to walking away from wrestling. Because again, like that's where my mindset is like I'm focused on my family, and I didn't feel like there was much more to do. Super Shogun reached out to me a couple of years ago and said, "Hey, we're doing this special thing up in West Branch. We want you to be a part of it." And man, I'm so glad that I have been, because now I'm the heavyweight champ there, and we've grown that company to be a pretty big deal on YouTube, and they got lots of views, and we've got a great crowd up in West Branch. And West Branch is like in the middle of, it's way up there, way up north, 4 hours north of me from Fort Wayne. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that show. They always have a great show. Check them out on YouTube. Again, their shows are free on YouTube. And I believe that match is going to be, for me, that day is going to be me versus Ash and Adonis for the Samurai Heavyweight Championship.
Absolutely. Definitely, fans, go check out Super Shogun Wrestling on YouTube. I'm gonna be checking them out as well now since I do know that they're on YouTube. I'll be checking out as well. And then let's check out this next one, MWC Mayhem.
Yeah, so this one's near and dear to my heart, right? This is in my hometown, where I'm living now, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Midwest Wrestling Combat. This is a growing promotion. Some of my friends that I mentioned on this earlier on in this podcast, this is the kind of the byproduct of them trying to get something started in this big city that we kind of have this void of wrestling in. And we're kind of just getting to this point where we're starting to have regular shows, and we've had great turnouts for every single show. And one of our biggest goals is to have young, hungry, independent wrestling talent on this show. So you can see just by looking at this flyer, like you got, myself, of course, but guys like Donovan Cecil, Ashton Adonis, Eric Surge, and in the back, Russ Jones, who is a guy that has been around for a minute. And again, he's really coming into his own. He wrestles at places in Chicago like AAW. Him and his tag team partner just wrestled the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson. And again, we want to make sure that we're highlighting these guys because that's kind of, I remember, being those young dudes. And it's still to this point, like in my career, like I want people to watch me, not necessarily other dudes that get, from maybe have TV experience or coming down from TV. And of course, like they're making that money coming at these independent promotions. But, these guys like these guys on this flyer, we're the ones putting in the work. We're the ones going all over the place and putting on banger matches. So if you are interested, please visit the Facebook Midwest Wrestling Combat, buy your tickets online. Come on up to Fort Wayne, Indiana for March 7th.
Yes, definitely. And then last but certainly not least, Heroes and Legends.
That's right. Yeah, Heroes and Legends. So this is where it all started for me, right? Like I started at Heroes and Legends. That was like where I started training underneath Jason Maples and again Congo Kong. And it sounds like this is going to be the ride off into the sunset for Heroes and Legends, and whether that be a good thing or a bad thing, unfortunately. But it's just a big night of returns and fan services to those that have always followed not only Heroes and Legends, but its former iteration, Extreme Wrestling Federation there in Marion, Indiana. So it'll be a good time. And of course, I'm going to be defending my Heroes and Legends Heavyweight Championship. Again, nothing against Roman Reigns, but I've been the champion of Heroes and Legends for over 2,200 days. So, I'm looking forward to defending it. And if that is the last time, going out with a big bang.
Yes, absolutely. And I definitely encourage you fans, get out to all these shows. If you're in the area, if you're within driving distance, make a trip out of it. Definitely, pack up the kids, get grandpa out of the shower, whatever you have to do. Get yourself to these shows, support indie wrestling wherever you're at. Even if you're not close to these shows, like I said, drive in. If there's independent wrestling in your area, I can't stress that enough. Go out and support these hard working men and women who put their bodies on the line for your and our entertainment. And go and check them out and support them. Spend your hard-earned money, buy the merch, all the good stuff. Check them out on Facebook, on social media, and YouTube. Everything. Check them out and keep supporting indie pro wrestling. That is the heartbeat of professional wrestling, of the professional wrestling business. And that's where you can see not just the legends of yesterday and the stars of today, but you can see the stars that are going to be those future WWE stars, AEW, TNA, whatever that might be. Go out and check them out and see them before you're going to have to pay that expensive ticket, to see them in person. And we know how most of those tickets are. I don't want to get into that now, but we know how those ticket prices are nowadays. So go out and spend your hard-earned money on that and support. I can't stress that enough. And then Anthony, how can fans find you on social media?
Yeah, so follow me on Instagram, X. I hate saying X, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok. I don't really use TikTok, but sometimes I post out there. Facebook, Anthony Toatele. Just that it is at Anthony Toatele for all of my social media handles. I am pretty active on social media, so feel free to shoot me a message or drop me a comment. I love to interact with fans and let me know what your thoughts are, especially for you OVW fans. I know there's a little bit of a back and forth about that right now, about who I am and what I'm doing. So, but yeah, that follow me on all those social media channels. I love interacting with fans.
Absolutely. Fans, go follow Anthony on all of his social media. Go give him support, love, all that good stuff. That's where you can see where he's going to be at next as well. And then, Anthony, one last question. If there are any promoters that would like to get you on their next show, how can they go about doing that, reaching out to you?
Yeah, sort of exactly the same thing. Please reach out to me on social media. I feel like at this point in the game, like I definitely bring something to the locker room for those promoters. I let my work speak for itself. I'm not one to boast about how good I am. I know I'm good, and I wouldn't be still doing this, 13 years in if I didn't feel like that I was very good at it. I know that's not there are some pro wrestlers that'll just keep hanging out, and even though they're not very good, they just keep hanging out, but that ain't me. Once I'm not good at this, I'm out. So I feel like I'm the best that I've ever been. I look the best that I've ever been, that I've ever looked. And reach out to me. Let's do business, and let's make your show better.
Definitely. Promoters, if you're watching, listening, I would say this, even if he wasn't right here, there is no better talent that you can get than Anthony Toatele. He's so talented. And book him for your next show. You won't be disappointed. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you your fans will be definitely entertained. Your show will be brought up a whole nother level. So go book Anthony Toatele for your next show. Bring him in for an appearance even. Wrestling cons and everything. Bring him in for signings, all that good stuff. Go book Anthony Toatele. And Anthony, at this time, I definitely, again, love to thank you for coming on the Final Count, and you're welcome to come back anytime, sir.
Oh man, no, thank you for having me and giving me the platform to speak about, all the things that got me to this point in wrestling, man. So I just appreciate you.
You're absolutely welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, fans, we will see you, as I say every week, we will see you down the road.